inflorescence. So inflorescence means here the arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. The arrangement of flowers on floral axis is known as inflorescence. We have mainly three types of inflorescence: racemose, cymose, special. Racemose, cymose, and special type of inflorescence. In the racemose inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow. The main axis continues to grow, and here the flowers are arranged in acropetal order. The flowers are arranged in acropetal order like this. So here the young flowers are present at the apex region and the older flowers are present in the basal region, right? So the main axis continues to grow in the racemose inflorescence, whereas in the cymose inflorescence, the main axis is also termed as peduncle. It terminates into flower. The main axis terminates into flower, and the flowers are born in basipetal order. The flowers are born in basipetal order. That means first the flowers are initially born at the apical region and towards the basal apex to base. So it is known as a basipetal order or basipetal succession, whereas in racemose acropetal order or acropetal succession. So that means the main axis continues to grow. It shows unlimited growth, whereas in the cymose inflorescence the main axis shows limited growth or definite growth, and it is in racemose it is indefinite growth, right? And the mode of arrangement is a acropetal order, just like in leaves. In racemose inflorescence acropetal order, whereas in cymose it is basipetal order. And another type is a special type of inflorescence. This special type of inflorescence is not mentioned in NCERT. It is exclusively present in the state syllabus. So special type of inflorescence, we have again three types, that is verticillaster, cyathium, hypanthodium. So here we shall discuss about cyathium. That is, cyathium is a special type of inflorescence. In this there is only single female flower is present, and surrounding this many male flowers are present. And a deep cup-like structure is present, that is called as the involucre of bracts. So cyathium, example for cyathium is a euphorbia and poinsettia. Okay. So the diagram here, that is a కెస్సియా, తంగేడు, తెలుగులో తంగేడు అని పిలుస్తాము. ఇక్కడ ఇచ్చిన డయాగ్రాము కెస్సియా, దట్ షోస్ racemose inflorescence, right? So here in racemose type of inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow and the flowers are born laterally in acropetal succession. So this is a flower, this is a pedicel. So pedicel is also called as stalk, and it is a bract. So some flowers do not possess pedicel. Those flowers are known as the sessile flowers. Okay, sessile flowers. In cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates into a flower, hence it shows limited growth. The flowers are born in basipetal order. And here cymose inflorescence, it is a jasmine. Example, jasmine. The main axis terminates into flower, right? So next let us discuss about the structure of flower. So this is a thalamus. So thalamus is also called as a receptacle, and pedicel, calyx, corolla, stamen, ovary, stigma, right? So calyx, so the unit of the calyx is known as sepals, and the unit of the corolla is known as petals, and the unit of the androecium is known as stamen, and the unit of the gynoecium is known as the carpel or pistil. Carpel or pistil. So here the flower is a the flower is the flower is a reproductive unit in the angiosperms. The flower is a reproductive unit in the angiosperms. So it is meant for sexual reproduction. In the previous chapter, we have discussed in detail about the reproduction of flowering plants. A typical flower has 4 different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the 2 swollen end of the stalk or pedicel called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So this is the calyx called sepals, corolla known as petals, stamens, androecium known as stamens, that is a male reproductive organ, and female reproductive organ is known as gynoecium. So the gynoecium is indicated with the pistil or carpel. Pistil or carpel. And if you look at into the symmetry of flowers, we have mainly 3 types of symmetries. One is actinomorphic, another one is zygomorphic, actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and third one is asymmetric. Very important for the NEET point of view. In 2025, question from this area, that is example is directly asked. So what is example for zygomorphic? So here actinomorphic symmetry. So this is a flower. So a flower can be cut into two equal halves in any radial plane. So that is known as the actinomorphic symmetry. A flower can be cut into 2 equal halves in any radial plane, that is called as the actinomorphic flower, and the symbol represented with this. So we have to draw plus and that encircle. That is a symbol of actinomorphic flower. So example for actinomorphic flower is the datura, chili, and mustard. Datura, chili, and mustard. And come to the zygomorphic. So zygomorphic. So zygomorphic flower. So here a flower can be cut into, it can be divided into 2 equal halves only in vertical plane, only in one vertical plane. That is, when a flower can be cut into similar halves only in one particular vertical plane is known as zygomorphic symmetry, and it is represented with the symbol percentage or pi. Example for zygomorphic is a pea, bean, cassia, gulmore. So examples: pea, gulmore, bean, cassia. So you have to put some mnemonics to remember these examples. And asymmetry, that means a flower cannot be divided into 2 similar halves in any plane passing through the center is known as asymmetric. Kanna is a example for asymmetric that is irregular. The flower cannot be divided into two equal halves. So based on the symmetry, so we have three types: actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and irregular or asymmetry. Asymmetry example is a canna, right? So that zygomorphic is also known as bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry, whereas actinomorphic shows radial symmetry. Radial symmetry. Next, a flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous. So when the floral appendages are in multiples of 3, 4, 5. Okay. So here flowers with bracts, that is, bracts are nothing but they are the reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel are called bracteate. So here, so sometimes flower possess bracts, that is near the pedicel, right? And here those with bracts are called as the bracteate flowers. Those without bracts are called as the ebracteate flower. And here this is the types of flowers. Types of flowers. So we have mainly three types of flowers. One is a hypogynous. These two indicate the perigynous, and this one indicates the epigynous. Epigynous, very important. So hypogynous. Hypogynous means, so these types of flowers is mainly based on the position of flower. This classification is mainly based on the position of floral parts on thalamus. Hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. So hypogynous means here gynoecium occupies the highest position. That means the gynoecium, that is ovary, present at the highest place, and from beneath the gynoecium other floral parts are raised. Other floral parts are arranged from the beneath the gynoecium. Gynoecium కింద నుంచి వేరే ఫ్లోరల్ పార్ట్స్ అరేంజ్ అవుతున్నాయి, దాన్ని హైపోగైనస్ అంటాం. అండ్ పెరిగైనస్ మీన్స్ all the florals are brought to the same level. All the floral parts are brought to the same level, that is perigynous. And epigynous, epi means upon the gynoecium. So here thalamus encircles the gynoecium part. This is a gynoecium called as ovary. And above the gynoecium we will find other floral parts like calyx, corolla, androecium, and stigma, that is gynoecium. So hypogynous examples: China, mustard, brinjal. And perigynous examples: plum, rose, peach. Epigynous examples: guava, cucumber, and sunflower, ray florets of sunflower are the examples for this. Very important, previously asked in the NEET examination examples you need to remember. And in the hypogynous flower, the position of the ovary, superior ovary, whereas in the epigynous it is inferior ovary, because the ovary is present at the bottom region, that is the inferior, whereas in perigynous the ovary is known as half superior and half inferior. So remember the examples. Right, parts of the flower. So here the first part is a calyx. The first part is a so this is the thalamus, pedicel, also known as stalk. So the first part is the calyx, and usually represented with the letter K, and corolla varies. That means the color of the corolla is varies from plant to plant. So this is the corolla. The unit of the corolla is a petal, and usually it is represented with the letter C. Letter C. And this is the stamen. Okay. And gynoecium. Right. So calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower, and the members are called as sepals. Members are called as sepals. So calyx unit is known as sepals. And if the sepals are fused, that is known as a gamosepalous. If the sepals are free, that is called as a polysepalous. Polysepalous. And corolla. So corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Very important. So usually these petals are appear different colors to attract the insects, mainly for pollination. So like calyx corolla may also be gamopetalous or may also be polypetalous. The shape and color of corolla vary greatly in plants. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped corolla. So tubular-shaped corolla is found in the Asteraceae family members, whereas funnel-shaped corolla is found in the Datura solanaceae. Datura, whereas a wheel-shaped corolla is found in the brinjal. It also found in the Solanaceae family, right? So come to the aestivation. So aestivation means the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in a floral bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as the aestivation. So aestivation is very important for objective point of view. Right. So this is the aestivations. So this one is a velvet aestivation, and this one is a second one is a twisted, and third one is a imbricate, and fourth one is a vexillary aestivation. Right. So in the velvet aestivation, the margins of the sepals or petals just touch one another, or sometimes they may not touch one another, but they come in a circle. So like this, ఒకటే లైన్లో ఒకటే లైన్లో ఒకదానికి టచ్ అవుతూ కానీ టచ్ అవ్వకుండా కానీ ఒకటే లైన్ మీద ఉంటే దాన్ని వెల్వేట్ ఈస్టివేషన్ అని పిలుస్తాము. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కెలోట్రోపిస్. నెక్స్ట్ ట్విస్టెడ్ ఈస్టివేషన్. సో twisted aestivation, here if you look at into the twisted aestivation, overlapping is common, whereas in the velvet aestivation there is no overlapping. So here the sepal, one sepal is overlapped into the next sepal, into this next sepal overlap into the next sepal, and this sepal overlap into the next sepal. It is again in. So here overlapping is particularly in. That is why. So here twisted aestivation we can easily identify the overlapping is in a regular direction or particular direction. So examples for twisted aestivation is a China rose, cotton, lady's finger. You need to remember the examples. So velvet example calotropis, val, cal. Remember val, cal. Whereas twisted aestivation, China lady twisted the cotton. That is one of the mnemonic. And imbricate aestivation. If you look at into the imbricate aestivation, here the overlapping is not in a particular direction. So one sepal overlaps out and another sepal overlaps in, another sepal overlaps in, another sepal overlaps out, and this one is out. So it is not in a particular direction. Overlapping is not in a particular direction. That is the imbricate aestivation. So imbricate aestivation examples Cassia and Gulmore. Cassia and Gulmore are the examples. So somewhere it is right. Cassia and Gulmore are the examples for imbricate aestivation. Imbricate aestivation. Next, vexillary aestivation. So the largest petal known as the standard. So which overlaps the two lateral petals known as wings, and in turn these wings overlaps the two smallest petals known as keel. So this is known as the vexillary aestivation. It is also known as the papilionaceous. Vexillary aestivation is also known as the papilionaceous. Example, pea and bean. Pea and bean. So you need to remember the diagrams as well as examples. Next, anaerosium. So anaerosium is composed of stamens. Anaerosium is composed of stamens. So the unit of the anaerosium is stamen. So each stamen represents the male reproductive organ, and here each stamen has mainly two parts, that is anther and filament. Anther and filament. So usually dithecous anthers are found in the flowering plants, so which we had already discussed in the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. And here each stamen which represents the male reproductive organ consists of stalk or a filament and an anther. So each anther is usually bilobed, and each lobe has two chambers and the pollen sacs. The pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called as staminode. Very important. A sterile stamen is called as a staminode, which cannot able to participate in fertilization process. So stamens of flowers may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves. So epipetalous. So epipetalous means when stamens are epipetalous means when stamens are attached to petals. That condition is known as the epipetalous condition, that is found in brinjal as well as the datura, or epiphyllous. So epiphyllous means when the stamens are attached to the perianth as in the flowers of lily. Very important. Epiphyllous or epitepalous. The unit of the perianth. In some plants we do not find calyx and corolla. Instead of calyx and corolla, perianth is present. So that perianth is nothing but, so calyx and corolla fused to form a distinct structure, that is called as a perianth. The unit of the perianth is the tepal. Tepal. So here epitepalous means when stamens are associated with the tepals. Okay, that is known as epiphyllous or epitepalous. The other word for epiphyllous is the epitepalous. It is found in the Liliaceae family, whereas epipetalous is found in the Solanaceae family, that is brinjal. Solanaceae family, right? And stamens are maybe either remain free, okay, maybe either remain free, that is called polyandrous. When the stamens are free, polyandrous condition, or may be united in varying degrees, that is the stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle is called as monoadalaphous, as in China rose. Very important. When stamens are united into one bunch or one bundle called as monoadalaphous. Monoadalaphous. Example, China rose. China rose. That belongs to Malvaceae family. Mono China. Remember the mono China. And here diadalaphus. That means stamens are united into two bundles. So diadalaphus stamens are united into two bundles. So for example, in Fabaceae family, that is in P, in P. So here the stamens are united into two bundles, that is 9 plus 1, 9 plus 1. So 9 is kept in bracket because all the stamens are associated to each other and 1 remains separate, 9 plus 1, diadalaphus condition. And polyadalaphus. So polyadalaphus as in citrus, that is stamens are united into more than two bundles. So remember as policy. Policy. So policy means polyadalaphus and C means citrus. C means citrus. And another important thing is very important. This question is also asked in 2025. This question is also asked in 2025. Examples. So here in one column, uh, that is pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms, and bryophytes is given, and another column examples are given, right? So salvia. So salvia is a angiospermic plant. Angiospermic plant. Whereas salvinia is a pteridophytic plant, right? So here there may be a variation in the length of filaments within a flower as in salvia and mustard. So salvia mustard lo filaments యొక్క length variation ఉంటుంది. And here mustard possess tetradynamous condition. Tetradynamous condition. Whereas salvia possess didynamous conditions. So we have 6 stamens in mustard and 4 stamens in salvia. So in the mustard, 2 are short and 4 are length, and their arrangement is 2 are outer side, 4 are inner side, right? So remember that within the plant there may be variation in the length of filaments. Example salvia and mustard. Next, gynoecium. So gynoecium is the innermost whorl of the plant. Gynoecium is the innermost whorl of the plant. Or female, it is a female reproductive part of the flower. So it mainly consists 3 parts. It mainly consists 3 parts. That is 3 parts: ovary, style, stigma. So this is the ovary, and this part is style, and this one is a stigma. Ovary, style, stigma. So gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of 1 or more carpels. The unit of the stigma is the carpel or pistil, and a carpel consists 3 parts, namely stigma, style, and ovary. So ovary is the enlarged basal part. Ovary is the enlarged basal part. Ovary is the enlarged basal part on which lies the elongated tube, that is known as the style. So style connects the ovary to the stigma. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style, and it is a receptive surface of pollen grains. So pollen grains land on this stigma, right? So each ovary bears 1 or more ovules to a flattened cushion-like placenta. So here, so cushion-like tissue is present, that is called as the placenta. To this placenta, ovules are born. So here, the ovules may be free or maybe fused. And here, when more than one carpel is present, they are called as apocarpous ovary. When more than when more than one carpel is present and they are free, called as apocarpous ovary. This is the apocarpous ovary. Apocarpous ovary. So example for apocarpous ovary, that is, so when more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus and rose, called apocarpous ovary. Examples for apocarpous ovary: lotus and rose. And sometimes these carpels are fused, that is termed as the syncarpous. So that is found in mustard and tomato. Mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develops into seed and ovary matures into fruit. And here the important topic is placentation. So here placentation, the arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. So we have different types of placentations, that is marginal placentation, marginal placentation, marginal placentation, and free central placentation. So this one is a marginal placentation, and axial placentation, axial placentation, and this one is a parietal placentation, and free central, and basal placentation. So marginal placentation. So what do you mean by placentation? Placentation is nothing but the arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. In marginal placentation, placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary. Ventral suture of the ovary. So placenta develops along the ventral suture of the ovary, and to this placenta the ovules are born. To this placenta the ovules are born. It is found in the example for marginal placentation is P. P, right? And next, axial placentation. So when the placenta is axial, that is, so here placenta develops in the center, and to this placenta the ovules are born by forming septa. By forming septa, it is a axial placentation. And here examples for this axial placentation: China rose, tomato, and lemon. China rose, tomato, and lemon. And another one is a parietal placentation. So in parietal placentation, what happens? The placenta develops along the inner wall of the ovary, and the ovules are born to this inner wall. Initially, it is one chambered, but due to the formation of a false septum, so this is the false septum. It is also called as a replum. So due to the formation of false septum, it looks like two chambered ovary. And here examples for this parietal placentation: mustard and argemone. Mustard and argemone are the examples for this parietal placentation. And free central placentation. So if you look at into the free central as well as axial placentation, there is a small difference. In the free central placentation, there is no septa. In the axial placentation, there is a septa. So placenta develops in the center. To this placenta, ovules are born here without septa, that is free central. Example, primrose and dianthus. primrose and dianthus. And basal placentation. So here in basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of the ovary and a single ovule is attached to the base of the ovary. Example, sunflower and marigold. Sunflower and marigold are the examples, right? Next, fruit. Here the fruit is a characteristic feature of the flowering plants. The fruit is a characteristic feature of flowering plants, and it is a mature or ripened ovary developed after fertilization. And here if a fruit is formed without fertilization, that is known as the parthenocarpic fruit. Parthenocarpic fruit. Parthenocarpic fruit means here the fruit is formed. Fruit is formed without fertilization. Without fertilization. So that is known as the parthenocarpic fruit, and the process of formation of parthenocarpic fruit is called as a parthenogenesis. So usually, so these fruits are seedless fruits, and they are commercial in nature, right? So easy to eat and they are fleshy. So generally, the fruit consists of fruit mainly consists of seed as well as that is a fruit wall. So here that fruit wall is known as the pericarp. Here pericarp is divided into three layers: epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. So if you look at into the mango, so this is the outer layer is the epicarp, and middle layer is the mesocarp, which is fleshy in nature. In mango. Fleshy in mango. And endocarp is hard. Whereas in coconut, epicarp is thick, mesocarp is fibrous, and the edible part is a endocarp. Endocarp is edible in coconut, whereas mesocarp in mango, which is edible, and the fruit is known as the drupe. The fruit name is known as the drupe in mango and coconut, and it is developed from the monocarpellary ovary. It is developed from the monocarpellary superior ovary, and usually they are one-seeded. And come to the seed. So the ovules after fertilization develops into seed, and ovary develops into fruit. Okay. So here a seed is made up of seed coat and an embryo. The embryo is made up of radicle and an embryonal axis. And in monocots, we will find only one cotyledon. In dicots, we will find two cotyledons. So structure of dicot seed. So earlier class we had discussed about the structure of dicot seed. So here, so the seed coat has two layers: the outer testa and the inner tegmen, and the hilum is a scare on the seed coat through which developing seeds were attached to the fruit. So this is the scare. This one is a scare of the seed. So above the hilum is a small pore called the micropyle. So within the seed coat is embryo consisting of an embryonal axis and two cotyledons. So this is a embryonal axis. This is a embryonal axis, and this one is a tigellum or cotyledonary node. To this tigellum, so two cotyledons are associated, and the above the portion of cotyledon is known as the epicotyle, and below the portion of cotyledon is known as the hypocotyle. So epicotyle, here the plumule is present. From the plumule, shoot is formed from the radicle root is developed. So at the two ends of embryonal axis are present radicle and plumule. So this is the radicle and this is the plumule. From the plumule, shoot is developed. From the radicle, root is developed. So here in some seeds such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization. So we have discussed about the double fertilization. Double fertilization is a unique feature to the angiosperms, whereas gymnosperms only one fertilization takes place. So in angiosperms, first fertilization or syngamy, it results in the formation of zygote, and second fertilization, that is second male gamete fuses with the central cell to form endosperm, which is triploid in nature in angiosperms, and it is a post fertilization structure. So in some seeds such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization is a food storing tissue and called the endospermic seeds. Whereas in plants such as bean, gram, pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds. Such seeds are called as non-endosperms, non-endosperm seeds. Okay, right. Next, the structure of monocot seed. Structure of monocot seed. So generally monocot seeds are endospermic, but some, as in orchids, are non-endospermic. In the seeds of cereals such as maize, the seed coat is membranous, generally fused with fruit layer, and the outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by proteinaceous layer called alluran layer, and it is a 2025 NEET question. 2025 NEET question. The outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinaceous layer called as a endospermic layer, and here cotyledon is known as the scutellum. Main cotyledon is known as a scutellum, and it has a plumule and radicle. Plumule is covered by a sheath called as coleoptile, and radicle is covered by a sheath called as coleorhiza, and root cap is also present.